Hello and welcome to episode 94 on the Healthy Runner podcast. And we are live within the Healthy Runner Facebook group. And we are having a 2021 Boston Marathon recap episode with our very own Coach Lou. Coach, welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, we are super excited to talk about this. We're going to be talking about the 125th running of the Boston Marathon. Coach Lou is going to give us his personal recap. He's going to talk all about his Boston Marathon experience. He's going to give us a little history lesson for those that don't know much about the race. And we're going to talk about, what were the things that helped him pre-race, race strategy, and his reflective thoughts after running his first Boston. And not only did Coach Lou run his first Boston Marathon, but he did an absolutely phenomenal job and ran a personal best of a sub-3, a 2:58:16, which is amazing. And our whole Healthy Runner community was pulling for this guy. So many people were tracking him during the day, and we were just so excited. We had no doubt that you were going to do this because you're just amazing, and we're just like so happy and so proud of you, honestly. But for those that are listening to the podcast for the first time, or maybe they're not a part of our Healthy Runner Facebook group, can you just give them a little introduction on who you are, where you're from? Let the people know.
Hi, everyone. I'm Coach Lou. I'm a coach in Healthy Runner Facebook group. I'm my day job is a chemist, but I'm also a run coach and a personal trainer. And so I'm a moderator in Facebook group too.
And he is a phenomenal run coach, by the way. This guy is probably one of the most modest guys I know. And I'm the one who had a post about his amazing Boston Marathon time in the group because I knew he wouldn't post it himself. So as you could tell, Coach Lou is very modest, and he is very humble, and it's probably going to be hard for him to kind of share some of his wins here. So I will do all the bragging for you. I will take care of that. But one of the things that Coach Lou is really good at is not only the strategy part of racing, but also that motivation. And so much so that I actually started working with Coach Lou personally. He was my run coach that brought me to my fastest half marathon in 15 tries or 5 years. So he's been instrumental in my running and so many other runners within our Healthy Runner programs and our coaching programs. He's been on the podcast before. So if you haven't checked out episode 72, Coach Lou shared some great pacing strategies and what paces you should run during your runs. Most runners, you might be hitting the pavement right now listening to this episode, and you might just be doing all your runs at the same pace. So he kind of broke down on why you should do different paces for different runs based upon your goals. So check out episode 72 if you haven't already. You will definitely get a lot of knowledge in that episode, which will certainly help you out. And those that are coming on here live in our Facebook community, you guys know how we do this. Drop your questions for Coach Lou or myself. We'll be happy to answer them. But I really think this episode is going to be really beneficial for those that either don't know anything about the Boston Marathon. So you're new to running. And honestly, up until like 2 or 3 years ago, I really didn't know much about the Boston Marathon, and I'm starting to learn more and more. Or if you're a runner who is looking to qualify for Boston and you're looking to get a BQ, Coach Lou did that, and he accomplished that, and he ran the race, and he smashed the race, right? Or those
you get
that
there too.
I don't know about me personally, but maybe the listeners.
People, yeah, you can get there. It's
yeah, we shall see, right? Yeah, so it's going to be those that really are thinking about, trying to get a BQ, or you're thinking about running Boston for your first time, or you have run Boston before. And I'm sure like some of the things that Coach Lou is going to share with us today are going to bring you back some of those memories of Heartbreak Hill and some of the things along the course. So I think
Medals.
you guys will enjoy that. And that is a very, very nice medal, by the way. So for those that are listening on the podcast, Coach Lou is showing off his bling, his unicorn there, and he's got his race jacket on. So yeah, you can definitely recognize that jacket, the blue and yellow, iconic Boston Marathon jacket. Yeah, that is a very, very nice medal. You definitely deserve
Our
it.
color too.
I love it. The spark blue. I know. Definitely. I love it. All right. So we kind of talked about, who you are, what's your day job, and how you work so well with our running community from a coaching standpoint. But tell us a little bit about your run history, because I already shared your accolades and how you really crushed this race. So you must have been running like your whole life, right? You must have like run cross country, track in high school, right? You were probably like one of those elite high school runners.
Actually not. I officially started running in 2017. So
how old were you in 2017?
32.
Okay. So after you're 30 years old, okay, 32, you started
Yeah.
running. Wow. So that was the first time you
Yeah.
literally like started running.
Well, I mean, I run something, but never competitively.
Okay.
So really start running my first half marathon in 2017. And I get so happy with it and then start running my first marathon. So it's about I don't run many marathons because there's so much training and so much impact to the body. I do every year. So starting from 2017, I do roughly one marathon a year. And so Boston is my fifth marathon.
Very nice. And I think that's something that, many runners that, I come in contact with who do get some frequent injuries, those that are running 2 to 3 marathons per year, I think can definitely take a little something out of possibly less is more and focusing on like one big kind of race, one big marathon in a year or possibly 2. Those that are running more, it is definitely, I find, you need to have like a special type of body, right? There are those like outliers that, who you guys are, and definitely those that are into ultra running and doing some crazy miles. You guys could probably tolerate that, but the majority of us, like us kind of in the middle there, in the bell-shaped curve, like all those in the middle around the mean or average, like myself, we definitely wouldn't be able to tolerate multiple marathons per year. So I'm glad you brought that up, because I think that's an important take-home point as well. Is the training is hard, right? And it is very hard on your body.
Yes. So I usually do 4 months of like really rigorous training. So I can do at most 2 per year. So 2 months, 2 times 4 months, 8 months. So then the extra 4 months is for recovery. You don't train all year round. You need some time for body to recovery. And maybe you can focus on do more strength training and cross training or some winter sport if you like, right? So you can do 2, but if you do more, then you really have to plan around to let your body recover, because our body doesn't get stronger during the training. It's after the training. So it's during the recovery. You need to give the body recovery. And all this training is a stimulus to let the body grow. But if you don't let the body grow, you will never grow. So recovery is very important.
Indeed, recovery is super important. And I'm glad that you're highlighting that, because sometimes, as runners, we have the mentality of like, more is more. And if you don't hit your goal, just like try harder and just keep running like more and more. And you think that will, result in a better outcome and a better result. But a lot of times that's not the case. And you actually need, and we talked about that in our first episode of 2021, was like training cycles. And that's kind of what Coach Lou is alluding to, is having these different points of the calendar year that you're really focusing on different training cycles. So I'm glad that you kind of highlighted that. So before we get into like some of, why is the Boston Marathon talked about so much and like some of the history around the Boston
Right.
Marathon, can you just share, how did you wind up actually qualifying for Boston?
Okay. So yeah, there's a lot of stories. I started my first marathon in 2017. At that time, I don't even know what Boston is. Um, and but then, after running friends, we talk about Boston, and there's something so special about it. So Boston is the oldest annual marathon in the world, not in the US, in the world.
Wow.
And in 1866, that's the first modern summer Olympic in Athens, Greece. So 5 people in the BAA, the Boston Athletic Association, which organized the Boston Marathon, they go to the Olympic game, then and there's the first modern marathon there. They get inspired. They came back home with 6 gold medals. So they get inspired. The next year, Boston is born. So that year, 1897, that's a year. So that's an old marathon. And that time it was called American Marathon because there's nowhere else had a marathon other than the
Wow.
Greek
I
one.
never even knew that. Holy cow. Yeah.
Right.
So that was like the first literally marathon in the United States.
Yeah.
And they were inspired by the Olympics that were happening.
Yeah. So
Interesting.
annual because Olympics 4 year, but then that's the first annual marathon of the whole world. And it has the qualifying time, we say BQ, Boston qualified time. And that's pretty competitive. So for example, for people under 35, for men, you have to run a full marathon under a certain cutoff according to the age and gender. So for the young guys under 35, you have to run sub 3 hours to qualify for it. And for women under 35, it's 3 hours and 30 minutes. And in addition, hitting that goal only qualified you to register for it. But then because there are so many people registering for it, there's actually an additional cutoff time. So that was, you have to run a lot faster than that. And actually, I didn't make the cutoff time last year, but I was lucky. I registered for the virtual Boston, and they open up, so I get the actual chance to get into that. I feel so lucky.
Wow. Yeah. Cause
Right.
you didn't even think, I remember,
Right.
you qualified super happy and then you were led to this like disappointment, right? When you found out that you
Right.
actually didn't get in and is it because of the pandemic that they closed the field down? So there's less
Yes.
actually runners this year?
Yeah. So for people under 35 years, the males, you have to run 2 hours and 52 minutes. Super fast marathon
My goodness.
to get in. So that was it was crazy. But
Wow. Wow. Okay. All right. So yeah, let's get into some of this. You talked about kind of qualifying time and cutoff. What are some other things that make the Boston Marathon like this iconic marathon that everyone seems to want to do, right? And you see on like people's Instagram, like BQ Chaser, right? Or
right.
Unicorn Chaser. You see all like these people making these profiles that like that's their
Right.
like main goal in running is to eventually qualify and like run the Boston Marathon. What are some other things about this marathon
Mhm.
that make people want to do it?
Sure. So actually, one thing is about the qualifying time. So people's runner are somewhat competitive, depends, right? So when you have a high bar there, it feels like it's an achievement to even standing at the point. So everyone want to qualify for it, although it's hard, but then that's an achievement. Everyone want to chase it. So that's like a goal, and it's hard, but everyone want to qualify for it. And it gets actually even more popular after 2013, the tragic Boston bomb, and everyone want to come over to share the support, the Boston strong. That's a slogan. So people want to come over. The other thing that's really, really unique, that's just overwhelming support. It has 10,000 volunteers and almost 500,000 spectators. So the
Wow.
Boston Marathon go across 8 towns, and it's like layers of people, and the crowd support just amazing. You hear a scream all the time. Oh my God, it's overwhelming, and it's like a holiday of the whole city. The Red Sox they make this Patriots Day Monday, and in Massachusetts. So the Red Sox they play the game on that day. So after the game, they come over and cheer for the runners. And actually, after I run, I just wear this medal, showing a little proud afterwards,
Of
going to the
course.
parking lot. I'm not like bragging everywhere, but then people saw the medal, then they look at the clothes, they say, "Oh, congrats!" Like I don't know them, they just like randomly on the parking lot they congratulate you. So like you're very welcome throughout the whole city. It feels like it's like a whole party really, and of that big eight towns, a big party. It's amazing.
Wow, that must feel amazing. I'm just thinking about how good it felt this year at Hartford to like actually have people around cheering you on for a race after like all the virtual races we did
Right.
together during COVID. And I can't even imagine like that times, I don't even know, like 100 probably. Like I can't even imagine running a race and having that much crowd support, like pretty much the whole
Amazing.
course, right? Like there's never a part of the course where there's like zero people.
Indeed. Indeed. And it's like layers of people. It's not like just one layer, it's like 10 or more. So like if you are, it's like stadium everywhere. It's like
Right.
crazy.
Wow. Yeah.
And
What is this
it's already
screen?
reduced. It's already reduced actually due to that COVID. So it was
Mhm.
even more before.
Yeah. What's the whole deal with the scream tunnel? And like, I
Okay.
heard, I heard something about that, like a whole university, right? They go and cheer.
Right. So there are two things, interesting things about Boston. One, the famous screen tunnel is around the half marathon point, 13.1, near the Wellesley College, the all women college. They actually, in their school, university website, they said this is a Wellesley tradition. And Marathon Monday, thousands of women stand along half a quarter of the course, both sides, shouting so loud you can hear from miles away. And they also give high five and even kisses.
Oh my
Not
goodness.
this year because of COVID,
Okay.
but but they also make a lot of signs like, oh my God, the fans, both sides, like full with signs, funny ones, motivational ones. They actually have a Facebook group to customize it.
Oh my
They are like
goodness.
making it really seriously. Like people there make it really seriously. It's like a big event. Yeah, that's the crowd support.
Okay.
The
All right.
screen
So we got
tunnel.
this kind of scream tunnel. And then I've heard many people talk about this Heartbreak Hill. What is Heartbreak Hill? When does it occur in the race? And why is it called Heartbreak Hill?
Okay, so it's a big hill around mile 21 to 22. Mind you,
Right
so
when the race
marathon,
is at the hardest part. Okay.
right? So marathon 26 miles, and you hit it at mile 21 to 22, and that's in a Newton town. So that's already after a few rolling hills, mile 21. And why it's called heartbreak, not leg broken, right? Because many people actually get it wrong. Actually, I was wrong before I did this research. So it's in the 40th Boston Marathon, 1936. And this guy, Johnny Kelly, Pat runner in front, I think it's some Mr. Burke, pat on the back when he passed him to show some support. And then Mr. Burke get motivated, and then just speed up and eventually won the game. That
Wow.
broke the
Okay.
heart. That broke the heart of the Mr. Kelly.
Oh my
So
goodness.
that's actually where the heartbreak come from.
Ah, wow. Interesting. I know you would just think that it was called that because, people like that's where they basically hit the wall and it breaks
It
their
is.
heart that they were pacing well and now their race is like in the tubes. But yeah, it's a really steep hill basically at
It
when
is.
most people are hitting the wall of, 26.2. Okay. All right. So let's talk about some of your race preparation, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Tell us, did you wind up, staying overnight? Were you in a hotel, at a friend's apartment, or, where did you stay? If you could, let us know, were you able to sleep? Were you like anxious and all of that? Yeah. Tell me kind of the day before, the race.
Okay, actually 2 days before. So it started from actually Hartford. I was cheering for our crowds in Hartford. See so many people get the PRs. So happy
Yes.
to be part of that, including you.
Yeah.
Uh,
Woohoo.
so, so after Hartford, I drove directly to Boston to stay at my friend's house. And then actually it happens that so many friends are around Boston. So we stay together. So we talk and we get the free fuel together. We carb load, and actually not just carb load. There's hydration load, water loading, and electrolytes loading that I didn't pay attention to. But they said that the day before the race, you not just drink water, not just drinking, eat a lot, but also start to adding electrolytes so that your body is well balanced with electrolytes and water and carbs. Same thing the day on the race. And I was pretty lucky. I slept 8 hours. I usually
Wow.
don't sleep that much, which is I should improve on that. I slept the 8 hours the day before, no, 2 days before the race and the day before the race. So that's amazing. I feel I'm very well rested.
That's great.
Yeah.
Wow, that's great that you got in 8 hours and even the night before. Cause I know some people get like super, nervous, anxious. It's like you're excited, right? You've been like waiting
Well,
for
it
this
was,
moment for a long time. But yeah, you were able to fall right to sleep.
I guess, also because of this support, right? So the whole Help Me Runner group, I have to say thank you again. Is, oh my God, so many support from Help Me Runner group. And I got that before the race. And yeah, I was so touched. And I feel like I'm not just running for myself, I'm running for the whole group. I'm sharing my experience with you. So I get so in touched. And so I tried to reply, hit love, and then for all the comments, and then just force myself to fall asleep. And I tell myself, you're gonna run. If you're gonna run, you better sleep well. And I use the meditation app called Calm that usually help with sleeping.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Calm app. Nice little tip there for
Yeah.
those that need a little help with sleeping, to kind of calm you down.
Right.
All right. So you got good sleep. You were staying with friends who were also running the race as well, right?
Right.
Okay. Let's talk about, yeah, maybe we'll do that. So like the morning of the race, let's talk about
Mm-hmm.
that before we get into the actual course and strategy. Like, what does the morning of the race look like? How early do you have to get there? Are there different shuttles? How does that all work out?
Okay. So Boston is point to point, and usually they recommend you to. So it goes from West Hopkinton all the way east a few towns to Boston. So they recommend you start at the back bay of Boston and go to the shuttle over there, and they will transport you to the start line.
Okay.
And that the time depends on your bib. So they sort of categorize based on your expected finish time, actually your Boston qualifying time. So fast runner, you start faster and you start earlier, and slow runner start slightly slower. And because this year is different too, because it's because of COVID, right? So it's some rolling start, but general it's the same. You go to the bus, you go to the finish line, you so you can you get your gear check at the finish line, and you get a little bag that can carry to the carry on the bus to the start line, but you have to throw it away. So then you go to the bus, which take like 30 minutes, slightly over 30 minutes. Before, in the start line, you had to wait at the athletes village for hours before you actually start. But this year, you just go there and go.
Oh, nice.
It's so good.
Okay.
I know.
Nice. So what time did you actually start your race?
I start at 9:30, but okay, so I haven't getting my food the day before landing on the bus. So in the morning when I get up, I ate 2 bagels. That's a lot, but I was like 3 hours before the race, so I get up at slightly before 6 o'clock, 5 something, because I'm starting running at 9:30. So there are like 3 or 4 hours. I figure 2 bagels, yeah, it's fine. Right. It's carb. So I was actually a little full. I was pretty full. 2 bagels, and it's carbs. You want to have something that's easily digestible. Mm-hmm. Bagel works, and get some noon before that, and so carry my UCAN bar with me. Right. Nice.
So you took your UCAN bar with you. So did you wind up having that like on the shuttle or something like that?
No, so after getting to that start line, I usually want to warm up, right? So I did the dynamic warm up.
Yes.
And yes. Then, and then a little jog for like a mile, and then come back because I was so full. I only ate half of the UCAN bar. This like very rarely happens. I was able to eat half of UCAN bar, but yeah, I know it lasts forever. So I had the UCAN bar, and drink some water, and go to the bathroom, and then ready to go.
Ready to rock. Oh man, awesome. Yeah. And yeah, actually, UCAN is sponsoring this episode, Coach Lou. So we got to give them a shout out. They've been a huge supporter of the podcast. So we thank our friends over at UCAN. And for those that don't know, you guys always get a nice little Healthy Runner discount if you use the code Healthy Runner at checkout. I love their bars. I have them for snack all the time, or before even a workout, maybe like an hour or two before. So yeah, that's what Coach Lou had some of that after his 2 bagels. Yeah, bagel. I would be stuffed if I had 2 bagels. Yeah, but you needed it, man. You were performing, and the carbs were your fuel, right? That was your energy you needed for your race. And I know you mentioned kind of that dynamic warm up. For those new to the podcast, new listeners, if you didn't know, we have actually a Healthy Runner kind of 5-minute dynamic warm up for you to do to kind of prep your body for go time, either before your daily runs, your strength workouts, or race day. So I will drop that in the show notes, especially if you're new to the podcast. I haven't really dropped that link in a long time now, but that's what we give our clients to do. So check that out. It's been very helpful. Many runners, especially if you're the type of runner, when you hit the road, you feel like your legs are like lead blocks for like the first mile. Trust me, do the warm up before you go out. So then you hit the road and your legs are feeling, fresh. Essentially, they're feeling warmed up. It really, really preps the body for running. So if you haven't tried a dynamic warm up before your runs, you definitely have to give it a try. I'll drop that link in the show notes below. All right, so let's get into kind of the strategy for the race, and then if you could talk about specifically like this course, like what makes Boston special in terms of the course. I know you said it's a one-way, so you're not doing a loop, you're not coming back to the start. And you mentioned Heartbreak Hill around mile 21, but is there anything else that runners who are running this for the first time need to really consider, either in terms of race strategy or even during their training?
Yes. So the course, the first half first half is essentially downhill, very gradual downhill, and especially at the end, it's about when you see those Wellesley screams. When you hear those screams, that's like the end of the downhill, and after that, it start to go up. So if you go too fast, then you kind of break your leg, because the second part, you get into the rolling hills in Newtown. So that's around miles 17 to 21. There are rolling hills, and after 21, it goes downhill again. And for many people, they actually, a lot of veterans, they say it's the downhill after the 21 is that's hardest, because you beaten up your quads so much that you just so painful going downhill. So my strategy is, in the first half going downhill, I control my pace. I don't go too fast, so I don't break my quads. And then slightly up, going uphill, take it easy. So then I have some reserve going downhill. And that goes back to a strategy that has been used in our Hartford too, that has been so successful for everyone, that I always boast, like advocate, first 2 miles, go slow, very slow. So my average pace is 6:44 for the marathon. But the first 2 miles downhill, I was running 7 minutes per mile, 7:03. It's like 20 seconds slower than my marathon pace going downhill. Like
That had to be hard. That had to be hard, right?
It's really
to
hard.
hold
Not
back,
everyone's running faster than I did.
Yeah.
But I know, if you start too fast, you're gonna pay the toll afterwards. And this year, actually, because the rolling start, it's a little less crowded, so it's easier to keep your slow pace. And also, like before the race, I did some easy jogging a mile, so that's also helping you with loosen up your muscle. So the first 2 miles really slow, and essentially like a third. So the first 2 miles slow, and then from mile 2 to 6, I usually use that time to ease into a pace that you're gonna be able to hold. You feel like you are able to hold for the entire race at that specific day, specific condition, weather condition. And then from mile 6 to 20, 6 to 20, you just hold that space, keep your be confident of your training. So that's hold steady, go on the pace, and then from 20 to the end, that's where the race start. It's a 10K, so you go all you can. Although in Boston it's slightly different, because 17 to 21 are hills. So I just start my race after mile 21. But you see, they essentially the same strategy, like really slow, conservative start, and then steady middle section, and then like fast finish. And that way, I actually get a negative split with a net downhill in the first part. And I feel like my body is not like destroyed afterwards. And you feel strong. You feel like you're in control of the whole race.
Yep.
So that's a strategy. Right.
That's amazing. Especially, it sounds like that's more impressive on this type of course, because I shared in my kind of half marathon reflection a couple episodes ago how that's how I felt in Hartford. That was like literally the first race where like I felt strong, like up until literally, 10 and a half, like mile 11, about part where Francisco passed me, like mile 11. He's on the live, by the way. So what's up, Francisco? How are you? Like mile 11, that's when it really started getting hard, right? For me, for the half marathon, but I felt strong throughout. I would just imagine with that downhill beginning of the race, so many people must start out so fast, and it's probably hard because it feels easy, right? It's like it feels easy for you initially. So the fact that you were able to really hold back and just like run smart, knowing that you hold back in the beginning and then you're going to be able to feel stronger at the end and get through that. And the other point that you made that I think is very helpful for people to understand why the downhill is an issue is when you're running downhill, your quad muscles are basically decelerating you. So they contract what we call eccentrically. So it's like
Right.
when you do slow lowering, or if you're ever doing strength training and you're doing like negatives, sometimes people call them negatives, where it's when the muscle's lengthening, it's contracting. And you're basically using those quads a lot
Yes.
whenever you're going downhill running. So that's where a lot of people kind of, like you mentioned, just feel that lactic acid buildup and just like the burn in their quads, like they're just getting fried
Yes.
because of that downhill running. It will definitely put some more stress. And I'm kind of curious here, Lou, were you aware of that? And do you change your running form at all, running downhill to
Yes.
prevent yourself from like putting on the brakes essentially? Because when you put on the brakes and you contract that muscle, then it's used more and then it's going to fatigue out, right? Later in the race. Like, were you thinking about that with your running form?
Yes. I wrote a whole post about downhill running. So yeah, you are getting faster, but the things that keep do not overstride. So if you look down, so try to lean forward. Actually, you are not leaning forward because, but you feel like it because of the hill. So try to be more straight. If for the bystander point of view, you are actually standing straight. So, but most of us are like leaning back. So that's something you need to avoid, and you had to practice on that. So try to be straight and reduce the stride so you don't overstride. It's gonna be slightly bigger, but don't overstride that. When your leg hit the ground, your knee should have a little bend, so that's no overstride, and increase the cadence, and really just like breathe. You don't like get too excited and go too fast. So, and that's the thing, the downhill running. So you have to practice on that a little bit, and it's not like a
Nice.
big downhill running. So there are actually difference when you run like huge downhill and like gradual downhill. When you like going this straight downhill, then you do need to brake. You do have to lean backwards. But for this, just the thing I just mentioned, that will be helpful.
Okay. No, that's super helpful. And yeah, I think it's so important for runners to think about, and this is what I think about when I am, you know, running on that decline is that cadence is so much more important than that leg turnover and just turning over those legs a little bit faster. And you'll notice at races too, you'll wind up probably passing people that are putting on the brakes. And what they don't understand is they're putting on the brakes too much, which is
Mhm.
actually frying their muscles. Because
Yes.
the way gravity works, right, is it's going to help you actually go down the hill if you can get that leg turnover and increase your cadence as you're going down that hill. So I think that's definitely, even more important for a course like Boston, right? Is to make sure that you are familiar and you've trained on hills and,
Right.
you know what strategy you're going to, do as you're going down the hill.
Right. Because if you go down too fast, you will not feel it immediately. But then after the rolling hills in Newton, when you go downhill again, that that mile 21, then you feel it. That's why I heard everyone complaining about the last 5 miles going downhill, but your quads is just beaten up then because of the too you run too fast in the beginning. Yeah.
Right. All right. Nice. And yeah, so you actually ran negative splits for that like last 10K. That's
Yes.
amazing. That is
So
amazing.
so that the other thing that brings in I should emphasize the marathon is just so much mental. So so before the race, if I go to a race and say I'm gonna run sub 3, then probably I'm gonna be too excited and then run a pretty horrible strategy. But then this time I just go there. My first goal for every race is enjoy it. So you go to the race if you really want to break some PR, you just go to a track and run around, they're gonna be flat. But you go to a race because of the people, the support. So when I get there, I feel the support of people. I feel the healthy runner, the support of people checking me. Shout out for you. And I feel the support. I feel like it's amazing. I'm so touched. So I'm enjoying every minute of the race. And actually, I was after mile 2. I went. I saw this woman, Christine, and she happened to. It's so rare that I found someone. We are like the same pace from mile 2 all the way to 21. So she's pretty steady, but I use my wrong walk strategies. I walk through the aid station.
Yeah.
And
Every single aid station you walk through?
The first 3 I skipped, but then
okay.
And from I think from 6 to 16, I do every other, and from 16 to 20, I go for every aid station. So Boston have aid station every mile, and that's another thing unique. So it has Gatorade, at least 3 tables each side, Gatorade, and then water, another 3 tables each side. And so I walk, so I will check there's no people behind me, and then I just shout, I'm stopping, and I go slowly into that the Gatorade station, get the Gatorade, and then keep walking, get the water. I drink half of it, and then pour the remaining on my head. Then I keep going, get another cup of water, put it in my mouth without swallowing it, and then put the other thing on my chest. So when it gets hot, so that's really helpful. And so it's slightly slowing down when walking, but then I always pick up pace. Then I meet my friend Christine.
So, did you talk to her during the race, or no? You
yes.
Talked to her after? You talked to her during the race?
Yes. So nice. That's the other thing, how we can keep it easy. We are having conversations, really nice conversations, and we encourage each other. We say, oh, let's break through it together. And people cheer for me, I'll cheer for her, because I was with a band club. That's a local club that's like very well known. 46 of us are running in Boston.
Oh wow!
So everyone say go band, and I feel like my friends, nobody's cheering for her. So I just say, oh, go Christine, and then when I feel hard, it's like, especially after I follow behind. I fall behind after those hills and aid stations. She said, "Oh, you can do it." So that's so we encourage each other all the way to mile 21. But then at mile 21,
that's when the race started.
It gets really hard.
You're like, all right, race game on. Let's do this.
And I think I put in a Healthy Runner Facebook. I said, I'm gonna give all I can. So I promised. And I was thinking of all of you guys in Healthy Runner. And I think every encouragement, you're supporting me, and I know people are checking me. I feel like I should go, and it's hard. I know it's hard, and definitely not fresh, but I feel like it's not painful, so I can go, and I'll see just how much it goes. And I didn't cramp this time. So I used to cramp before, but it didn't cramp this time, and just finished really strong. And I also have my gel every 5 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So the first gel, I had it at mile 6, and then 7, 11, and then 15, 20, 20. Yeah, that's it. We're using e-gel, and it has slightly more electrolytes, so that may help with muscle cramp. And it's not a really hot day too.
Yes. So for those that don't know, again, this was an episode we did over a year ago now with Crank Sports and e-gel, and they've been nice enough to offer our Healthy Runner community a discount as well. So if you guys want to check their product out, it's cranksports.com. If you use the code Healthy Runner, that will get you 20% off your purchase. That's what I've been using for my races as well. And I do like the fact that it has more electrolytes in it, especially if you are running a hotter or a sweatier race. The makeup of a lot of the gels out there are very different, right? So, the UCAN Edge product is another great product that gives like long lasting energy, but doesn't necessarily have electrolytes in it, right? So the e-gel has electrolytes. And I know, many of my athletes use different products. So they all have kind of pros and cons. So it really depends upon what your needs are for you personally. And then like, what are the conditions that you're going to be running in? So, think about that when you are thinking about your fuel for your runs. I just had a conversation with one of my athletes right before we got on here about that as she's getting ready for her first half marathon in 16 years, Lou. How amazing is that?
Wow. I
Yeah, she's going
know,
to be
right?
super excited when she give her a little shout out, Jeanette.
Jeanette, you
I'm
got
so excited. I'm so excited for her. And she didn't think she would ever get back to this point. So we had that conversation though. She's doing the St. Jude half marathon. I know it's a big race and a lot of people do it for a great cause.
right.
So proud of her and excited. But all right, so you did your gels, you talked about water hydration, we talked about kind of how the race went, and you were really just pushing, mentally at the end. Like you had to get through. Did you use
Yes.
mantras at all? Did you have like some specific mantras that you were using?
Usually I just talk myself, you can do it. But now most of the time I was actually have someone to talk with. I say you can do it to Christine, and then she said you can do it too. So that's helpful. And the end, I think I was really just thinking of I'm really thinking of you guys, the support, the people supporting me in Healthy Runner and in the local running community. There's in my town, people cheering, and I was already really thinking of these people. I was thinking, I'm gonna run for you, and yeah, so that's really what carries me over.
Nice. Yeah. Well, you definitely you stepped up your game and you stepped up to the challenge during that hardest part of the race, running negative splits, getting a PR. Pretty amazing for your first Boston Marathon. I've heard of many people running it, and it's like they always remember their first because it wasn't a great experience usually. And then they run it again, and they get they're familiar with the course, they get faster. Let's talk about, kind of lessons learned from, you mentioned this was your fifth marathon. How have you grown as a marathon runner? What are some of the lessons that you learned from like that first marathon to this fifth marathon?
Okay, so first marathon, like many people, I have only one speed: 5K, 10K, half marathon, marathon, one speed, flat. At that time, at the time when people said about Boston, I checked that the qualifying time, because I don't even know I can get faster. At that time, I think I was running 8 minutes per mile for everything. And then I look at that, 8 minutes per mile can get me to Boston at age of 60. So that's what I thinking. Okay, I may run Boston at age of 60.
All right, so that's what I'm shooting for, age 60, that, that I can get a BQ.
But now you have coach. So so that's what I'm going to talk about. The second marathon, essentially same method, but just gets faster. So it was 7:45 for all speed again, but slightly faster.
Okay, so you're doing the same exact pace basically from mile 1 to mile 26. Okay, so you did like a
At that time,
7:46.
I don't even know that's the strategy. I don't know how I go. I probably just go by feel.
You
I
just
don't
went and
even know.
ran.
Right. But since the third marathon, which I become the Jack Daniel, I start learning Jack Daniel's philosophy, and that's when I become the run coach from. I get my easy run really easy, 1 minute per mile at least, slower than my previous easy run. But my marathon pace get 1 minute per mile faster, so that's 2 minutes difference already there. And then I did my hard runs really hard. Like, and that really helps. That helps. And that year, in almost just 10 months, I get 16 minutes PR in the marathon. So,
Wow.
and I missed my Boston qualified time by 34 seconds. So that was,
Wow. Yeah, that
yeah.
was an impressive year. So, yeah, so becoming a, certified run coach, you really learned kind of the strategies on how to get faster by having that dichotomy in your training where your easy runs are easy and your hard runs are hard, right? They're fast, and having those differences in the paces that you're doing on a weekly basis allowed you to actually improve your marathon time. Again, I think it's worth highlighting. We've talked about it many times on different episodes, and many people who have shared their story on how they got faster. So I can't highlight and stress that enough, because I still come in contact with so many runners who are trying to get faster, and every single time they go out the door, they're trying to run faster, right?
I
So they're
was there
running
before.
their easy runs too fast, and they're like not getting faster because they're plateauing essentially, right? They're hitting their wall. So slow down for those easy runs, and then add in the specific runs, such as the faster workouts, such as tempo runs, such as interval runs. So a lot of the things that we've talked about in previous episodes, I did an episode on 3 types of runs. So you can check that out on the podcast, where I talk about the differences in those runs. But that's really what Coach Lou kind of implemented and he wound up shaving 16 minutes off of his marathon time, and you just missed your BQ. So then what was the difference between kind of just missing that and then eventually getting your BQ? Was there any difference in your training that year?
So after that, that's marathon number 3, right? 3 to 4, essentially same strategy, and I got 3 hours and 50 seconds. So just missing the 3 hour a little bit. But then this year, I have my own coach. So we have the training is pretty similar to what I have, a little more tempo runs, but it's similar philosophy. But the thing is that accountability. Now he gave me some hard workout, which if I'm coaching myself, I wouldn't give myself that hard workout. And then he believed that I can do it. So and it's like someone's watching you, giving you accountability. So I push myself pretty hard in those training runs, and that really make a difference.
Yeah, and I couldn't agree more. You did the same thing for me. And I did harder workouts than I would have ever gave myself during this last training cycle. And obviously that worked for me. And obviously it worked for you. And I think it's just highlighting, having someone that can give you that objective viewpoint, is important to be able to assess where you are as a runner, because we assess ourselves in a little different way, right? And even those of us who are run coaches, we know the strategies, we know how to program and plan for others, but you're going to probably design something different for yourself if you weren't yourself, right? If you were an outsider kind of looking in. So it does work. It is helpful. And I've certainly seen the benefit, and obviously you have as well, during this last year, and how you shaved more time off. And yeah, just having that accountability is huge too. And, like you and I are self-starters, like we don't really need motivation to exercise. But that level of accountability, it is, because you're like, I know my coach can see this on my training calendar, and I know he's going to see, like, am I hitting my paces or not? It does give you that little bit of pump, right? That little bit of motivation when, otherwise you might have rolled out of bed and been like, I'm feeling kind of achy today, I'm kind of tired, it's been a rough week at work this week. It still provides you that little bit of motivation that you need to get in those hard workouts, because like Coach Lou said, it is those hard workouts that you have to get in, not every day, but those specific workouts during your week that you need to hit in order to improve that running fitness and get faster as a runner. So I'm glad that, you've seen the benefit in that, and you've invested in coaching yourself. I invested in coaching myself, and, it definitely works. Has there been anything else that you think attributed to, your quads not burning out with all the downhill running? We kind of talked about, you improving your cadence and, changing your running form a little bit. Was there anything else that you think prepared you for Boston?
Yeah, the strength training is amazing. Because especially doing hills is both uphill and downhill. You need the quads and hamstring to get ready for it. And
Yeah.
also balance too. But that's a different thing. I'm going to talk about something I need to improve on. So the strength training is so important.
All right. So really what Coach Lou is saying is, remember before I mentioned that your quads are being used during that downhill. So you need to actually strength train them in a way that they're going to be used when they run. So even specifically thinking about, okay, how can I, train my quads that it's going to work eccentrically, and I'm focusing when my foot's on the ground and my knee is bending, which is what it does when it runs, right? So again, for those of you who are, your strength training, you're still thinking of, hey, I go to the gym, I sit down in a machine, I kick my leg up, I'm working my quads. It's an okay exercise. Yes, you are strengthening your quads. You're contracting your quad. It's an isolation exercise. We use it to isolate quad muscles, especially if someone had a lot of arthritis in their knee and they couldn't tolerate a lot of running. Maybe that's a non-weight bearing exercise that their knees can tolerate. But for 98% of you out there who are running right now, you're going to be better served by strengthening your quads with your foot on the ground. So whether or not it's a single leg squat, a step down exercise, those are going to really focus on strengthening your quads. Or we have one in our Healthy Runner Strength program that you're kneeling and you're kind of leaning back, using the quads eccentrically as you kind of lean back. So all of those are run specific exercises. And actually, I believe I shared this in the previous episode. Yes. And how we kind of met when COVID first hit. And, Coach Lou was actually one of the first in the original Healthy Runner Strength program, which was at the time I called Spark Fitness. It was literally me in my living room, and for a nominal fee, I had a bunch of people jump on Zoom and go through the workouts with me that I kind of designed because I had some extra time. And I wanted to share with our running community, strength specific work that I've been working on for years, and integrating my knowledge as physical therapist, strength coach, all of that into what do runners need. So I think, that's something that, if you're looking for that edge and you haven't done strength training yet, specific for running, I think that can really help you out, especially for a race like Boston, that is going to be really hard on your quads.
Yeah, I noticed that my friends, because it's not uncommon that runners hate strength trainings. So my friends they are like, after the race, they cannot go upstairs and downstairs, and I feel normal, no problem. So it's really, I think the muscle really helps.
So even in the recovery process, you're saying, you weren't feeling it as much because your muscles were conditioned essentially. All right. So as we kind of come down to the end here, if you can give me some rapid kind of bullet point, I know, you're very reflective as well. And just like I did after my race, I'm sure there's some things that you really feel that, like, what did you do right, and that you can share with our community, so people can learn from that and maybe integrate that into their training. And then maybe we could talk about, like, hey, what didn't you do right, and maybe you can improve upon in the future. Can we kind of run through those? What do you think?
Yeah, so I think especially for this course, downhill course, I think the strength training is really helpful. And the other thing is the carb loading. And so in addition to carb loading, that the water loading and the mineral loading, electrolyte loading, that are important too. And and the strategy. Oh my God, it has been ever since that Hartford and then Chicago and Boston. So many people get their like huge PRs with that strategy. So the strat, as we say, like a race performance, 90% is from that your training, 10% is from the race day, weather things, but the strategy actually can make a huge difference alone. So had I start too fast, I probably gonna end up slower. Because I ran into many people who's actually a lot faster than I do, but they didn't do as well because they go slightly too fast. I was trying to run with them, but then I feel like they run too fast. I had to fall back, but eventually I passed them. So the strategy is really important. And I had to say thank you for this running community. The support is really important. Yes, like so many people are supporting me, checking me, motivating me, and I'm so grateful for that. And so mental is so important for that, for a race, especially for an endurance race. My first goal is always just to finish without injury and to enjoy the race. And then after that, that becomes whatever time goal it is. So these and the other thing is the wrong walk method. So that's something that I start implementing, that you may imagine that, oh, runner, you should run all the way through. But actually, well, there, if you stop and cannot go up, then that's bad. But I try to practice in the long run and feels fine that I stop every 1 or 2 miles, which is like essentially walking through the aid station. And so you don't get choked, you get more calm, you can say thank you to them. And so that's a good recovery that works too. And the heat training, that in the summer during the heat, that goes very well for race performance. So all this work very well. What I'm not doing so well, single leg stability. I need to improve on that a little more because I twist my ankle twice. Oh my God, twice before the race.
That was a little scary, right? That was like 2 weeks before your race. You sprained your ankle.
And 2 days again.
Yeah.
So if I can blame the first one for the cyclist, the second one is really myself. And I think it just stability is not quite there. With uneven ground, I just twisted. So I need to improve on that single leg stability. The other thing is about race, that for this any race that you need to wait for a while, you start very cold. So I was freezing. I was feeling freezing. Glad that my friend have made a jacket out of the trash bag, so I was able to hold myself. She has extra. She knows someone else need it, so she gave it to me, and that saved my day, because I know someone who was frozen, and then they just didn't go very well because they are like pretty they're already too cold when they start, and so that will help. That's or use some like old t-shirt that you want to throw away.
Yep.
So that's something you can improve.
So make sure that you're warm enough before the race starts. Okay.
Right. The last one is a salt tap. I used to cramp for the first 3 marathons, 4 marathon, 3 maybe, yeah, first 3 marathons, and it happened to be warm weather. So this time it's actually not that warm, so I was able to get by. But I think I will try that in my long runs in the next time, because when you sweat a lot, you don't just sweat water, you sweat the electrolytes too. On the race, on the course, you get Gatorade has some electrolytes and your gel has some electrolytes, but you still are disturbing the balance. And I think I was able to get by this time because I didn't sweat that much. But if that's a hot day, you sweat a lot, especially when you see that salt crystals on your skin, then you probably need a salt taps. If you the balance is out if your body is out of the balance for the electrolytes, it's so easy to get muscle cramp. That's something I should improve on.
Yeah, no, definitely. I started using those this year and I noticed a huge difference. And a lot of like when we ran that half marathon in Cheshire in July, so a lot of runners cramping up and I was using those salt tabs and I didn't cramp up. So yeah, I recommend that to all my marathon runners, honestly. I think the weather conditions were pretty good for you. It was a little humid though, right? That day? Was it a little humid?
But
Dew
since I
point?
trained through the summer, it wasn't too bad.
Yep. Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. So no, those are super beneficial, some things that worked, some things that you can improve upon. We all learn and grow from every single race experience. So thank you so much for sharing that. So if you're a runner right now and you're listening to some of this and you're like, wow, how did like Coach Lou figure all this out? And you've been struggling to kind of like put all the pieces together. Maybe you can't stay healthy. You're getting this chronic Achilles issue that keeps creeping up, or you're just not improving as a runner and you're not getting faster and you want to be able to get a BQ, or you want to be able to actually like run Boston and like crush it like Coach Lou did. And you want to learn how to strength train in order to run and like just stop throwing random exercises that you found on YouTube, and call that your strength training program. If you're really serious about taking your running, your health kind of to the next level, put the pieces all together, like all of our athletes have done, our brand new Healthy Runner coaching program that Coach Lou is a part of, and the rest of our coaching team works with you one-on-one to provide you the structure, take the guesswork out of what you need to do for a run plan, for a strength plan, and then you get the whole support of our coaching team as well as all our athletes that are in our program. So many times in today's episode, Coach Lou talked about like thinking about our community, right? And having that community. This was like all of our athletes in our programs, like all the people he was cheering on in Hartford that ran the marathon or the half marathon in Hartford. We've been kind of pumping each other up and sharing tips and things like that. So we do have a community element to all of our kind of one-on-one coaching program. So if you're like, hey, let's do this, or I want to work with Coach Lou, like my goal is to get a BQ, like obviously this guy's figured it out, and obviously this guy's experienced running this hard course and he crushed it. Let's jump on a strategy call and see if you're a good fit to work with Coach Lou or any of our coaches in our Healthy Runner team. And so you can crush your next running goal. I will drop the link in the show notes to just grab a slot on my calendar and we can chat and see if you're a good fit. If you want to learn more about our coaching program, just head to sparkyourtraining.com and then just hit coaching. You can learn a little bit more about our services there. Coach Lou, like this has been awesome. Like I loved hearing about your experience. If runners who are listening to this want to connect with you more, how can they connect with you?
So I'm a coach in Healthy Runner Group. I'm a moderator, and I have my Instagram, Lucio Run Fitness, and I have my Facebook account. So, yeah, you can find me.
And we will definitely drop all those links in the show notes. Lou is very active on Facebook, Instagram. You message him, he'll message you back. So I'll drop all of those links in the show notes. So guys who are here on Facebook Live, thank you so much for attending. We appreciate you as always. Hit that like, give Coach Lou a couple hearts. Let him know that you appreciated this, and give me, let's do this. Let's do a little reflective. What was like the one thing you took away from this episode? Let me know in the comments below. If you're listening to this on the podcast, like shoot me a DM and Instagram at Spark Your Training. Let me know what was most helpful. Even better yet, screenshot this episode, throw it in your story, tag me. Let us know what you found most helpful and learned from Coach Lou today. I am like just super excited. I'm just so proud of you, honestly, for your accomplishments. And it's just so great seeing someone who's worked so hard and like you've been super consistent and you're super motivational for everyone in our community. And you share so much knowledge within our Healthy Runner Facebook group. Guys who are not in the group, like Coach Lou just drops like some serious knowledge And it's super helpful. I refer many of my athletes to a lot of his posts to learn more about running, whether it's pacing, race strategy, nutrition, right? Like so many great things that you've shared. So we appreciate you. Thanks again for coming on the show.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to share. And yeah, so hopefully you enjoy your runs and have fun.
Have fun. We got to always have fun.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yes.
remember, every week we go live within the Healthy Runner Facebook group. So keep us in mind on your schedule. Check out the events tab to find out what is the next topic that can help you. Join us live within Facebook to get your questions answered. Join the conversation. And I thank you for listening. As always, let's stay active, let's stay healthy, and let's just keep on running. Until next time, guys. Bye.